The year is 1999, a simpler time before smartphones, social media, and streaming services. An era that seems almost quaint by today's standards, where studios were willing to take risks, and CGI was used to enhance visual effects, not replace them entirely. Today, I want to talk about The Mummy, Stephen Sommers' unapologetic, swashbuckling, big screen adventure that dares to blend horror, action, and comedy into a rollicking tribute to classic Hollywood. And, over 2 decades later, it still holds up. Not just as a piece of popcorn entertainment, but as a reminder of what blockbuster cinema used to be, and what it's in danger of forgetting. Before we go any further, let's talk about what The Mummy represents. Released in May of 1999, it wasn't based on a toy line, a comic book, or part of some pre-planned cinematic universe. It was a reboot, sure, but a creative one. It took a 1932 Universal monster movie and turned it into a sweeping Indiana Jones-style epic that still managed to feel fresh, fun, and full of heart. There's a kind of sincerity in this film that's almost jarring by today's standards. The characters are archetypes: the roguish hero, the bookish love interest, the cowardly comic relief. But they're played with charisma, humor, and just enough emotional depth to make you care. It's not trying to deconstruct anything. It's just telling a story. And that alone feels radical now. Contrast that with today's blockbusters, where every joke has to be meta, every moment has to be undercut with a wink to the audience, and every creative decision seems to be filtered through data analytics and the fear of offending a 4-quadrant audience. They simply don't make movies like this anymore, and that's a shame, because I grew up watching movies like The Mummy, and they helped shape me into the writer and person that I am today. Now, let's talk visuals. Yes, The Mummy used CGI, and at the time, it was pretty cutting edge. The digital effects used to bring Imhotep back to life were a major achievement in 1999. But crucially, they were only part of the equation. Most of the film's visual appeal comes from practical sets, real locations, pyrotechnics, and old-fashioned stunt work. It feels grounded. When the characters are moving through an ancient tomb or a riverboat catches on fire, it's not just pixels on a screen. There's weight to it. There's texture. Compare that to many modern tentpole films, where actors deliver lines against green screens in volume stages, and entire sequences look like cutscenes from a video game. When everything is fake, nothing feels real. There's no tension, no grit, just spectacle for the sake of spectacle. And that makes practical filmmaking feel like it's a lost art. What truly sets The Mummy apart, though, isn't the effects or the action. It's the characters. Brendan Fraser's Rick O'Connell isn't just a knockoff of Indiana Jones. He's a reluctant hero with charm and even a touch of vulnerability. Rachel Weisz as Evelyn Carnahan is more than just a damsel in distress. She's smart, brave, and occasionally clumsy in the most endearing way. And then there's Oded Fehr, stealing scenes as Ardeth Bay, somehow managing to be the coolest man alive while wearing eyeliner and a sash. Their chemistry? Electric. Their dialogue? Timeless. In today's films, you often get characters that feel like they were written by committee, focus tested to death. They'll quip, they'll pose, they'll mention that they're not like other heroes, but they rarely click. That organic ensemble chemistry, it's increasingly rare. The Mummy doesn't try to be dark and gritty. It doesn't pretend to be more than what it is. But paradoxically, that's what makes it enduring. It's fun. It's scary, in a PG-13 sort of way. It's got giant sandstorms shaped like faces, and mummies that scream in your face. And most importantly, it's not ashamed of any of it. The Mummy takes its beats from classic pulp adventure stories, such as those found in magazines like Adventure and Weird Tales. Rick O'Connell, with his roguish charm and quick-draw bravado, mirrors pulp heroes like Doc Savage with a shadow. The film's antagonist, Imhotep, channels the eerie mysticism of pulp writers like Robert E. Howard, whose stories often featured cursed artifacts and resurrected evils. Its quick pacing, treasure-hunting plot, and blend of horror with swashbuckling action directly nod to serialized cliffhangers, crafting a cinematic love letter to pulp's thrilling, larger-than-life storytelling. And there's no apology for the film's pulp roots, no ironic detachment, no attempt to elevate the genre. It embraces the adventure, the absurdity, and the romance, all at once, and in doing so, it becomes something so many modern blockbusters fail to be: memorable. In the years since, we've seen attempts to recapture the Mummy's magic, including the ill-fated 2017 reboot that tried to turn the franchise into a grim, CGI-drenched launching pad for a dark universe. It failed because it misunderstood what made the original work. Not just the story, but the tone. That balance of camp and sincerity. That willingness to be earnest. That total lack of cynicism. Those are qualities that, sadly, Hollywood has all but forgotten in its pursuit of content. Because that's what they call it now. Content. Not stories, not cinema, not even entertainment. Just content. To fill feeds. To maintain subscriptions. To generate synergy. But The Mummy wasn't content. It was a movie. So maybe it's time we revisit these kinds of films. Not just as nostalgia trips, but as blueprints, as reminders, as case studies in how to make adventure feel alive again. Because when you strip away the noise, the shared universes, the algorithms, the focus groups, you're left with a simple truth. Sometimes, all you need is a dashing hero, a brave librarian, a cursed tomb, and a story that dares to have fun. The Mummy isn't perfect, but it is unapologetically itself. And in today's world, that might just be the most radical thing of all.